All right. Hey, what's up? It's your girl Neek, and you're tuned in to Neek at Night. And today rather, it was a very, very explosive day in court for Karmelo Anthony. We were able to hear the opening statements. We got to see the surveillance of the incident that happened. We also heard a very, very dramatic 911 call that had Austin Metcalf's family just bawling. It was so many different moments that happened today. I had to literally decompress after court. So I apologize that it is so late after court that I'm finally sitting down and doing my breakdown, but it was just so much to process today. Mentally, I was just like, you know what? I need to take a few hours for myself and just truly decompress and process everything that I've heard, everything that I've seen, all of the different energies, all of those things. I just took a drive and I just was driving around and around and around and around and around. So it was a lot, but let's get into it. Let's get going. I have a lot of notes. Today was the official kickoff of the trial. Now, trial started on June 1st, which was Monday. Today is Thursday, June 4th. And today we actually got to hear the opening statement. And we got to hear from several different witnesses. We got to hear from a video analyst. We got to hear from several of the different coaches that were at the track meet. We also, as I stated, heard the dramatic 911 call where you can hear the life-saving measures that the people at the track meet were trying to do for Austin Metcalf. It was a lot going on today. There was a lot of facts that came out, and we're going to go over them in this live. So with that long intro being said, and we're going to pay her dust going forward, let's get into what you guys came here for. So we heard the opening statements for the prosecution and the defense. So the first 2 days, that was Monday and Wednesday, was basically voir dire. So the first day of the trial, where they were just introducing the jury and trying to probe the importance of being a jury member. What is their knowledge of the reason why a jury is so important? And they were probing stuff like that. On Wednesday, when we came back, they selected the jury and they got more personal questions on their feelings of, like self-defense, and what do they feel about somebody that's young that commits a crime, and can you impose a certain particular sentence, and all of those things like that. And then they selected the jury, and I did a complete breakdown on the selection process of the jury. If you guys are interested in all of the questions that they asked, all of the different things, them striking the black jurors, the defense contesting that and trying to fight for the black jurors to still be on the case, all of those things is detailed in another live. Now, this live, we're going to go over everything that was stated today. It might be a lengthy live because I have so much to go through, but hey, it is what it is. I got to be up early, but I got to give y'all the information. So when we get in there, they introduce the state and the defense. So on the prosecution side, it was a guy by the name of Bill Worski and Dewey Mitchell. On the defense side, it's Mike Howard, and I didn't hear the first name, but it was something Suge. Then the prosecution offered state's exhibit number 1. And then the judge, he granted all of the pretrial motions that the defense had put in. The jury, he announced that it was going to be 20 minutes each for opening statements. And then the jury got sworn in. When I watched the jury get sworn in, I noticed that it's not an all-white jury, even though there's not all Black people. It's not an all white jury. You get what I'm saying? Like there are I seen some Asian and some Indian, and then the rest were white. Now, what I also found interesting about the jury is that they, like, normally when I've been covering the trials, a lot of trials that I cover, a large amount of the jury is older people, right? Well, in this case, a large amount of the jury is younger people. So I was looking at the jury and I'm like, oh, wow, they have people on the jury that if I didn't know Austin or never heard, like, you know, like look like they can, not that they could be related, but look like they can have a similar, they don't look like them, but look like they can be like familiar, like not related, but like in the same type of, what's the word? Like they could see themselves in them, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like I looked at some of them on the jury and I thought to myself, I wonder if they see themselves in the victim. Get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? They don't look like him, but like relate to him. Yeah, there we go. Like relate to them. Like they look like they can relate to the victim. So that's what I'm saying. Like, so there was a lot of jurors that were younger. Okay. And so there was a few older jurors, but there was a lot that looked younger. Right. Got it. So, anyways, all right. So moving on. So they started out the morning by reading out the official indictment. So Bill Worski was the one to read out the indictment, and he basically read it out and told them that they believe that Karmelo did intentionally and knowingly kill Austin Metcalf with the intent to cause immense bodily harm. Now, it said a lot more, but I was just getting situated into my groove of writing, and I didn't write the full indictment, but I think I do have a copy of the indictment. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. Or, I mean, let me know if you guys are interested in the full indictment. It's not a lot that's written on the indictment, but they read out the indictment. And then the judge wanted to know, how does Karmelo Anthony plead? So Karmelo Anthony stood up and he says, how do you plead? And he says, not guilty. So then it was time for opening statements, and the counsel on the prosecution side, Bill Worski, he did the opening statement. So yesterday we heard a lot from Dewey Mitchell when he was doing the voir dire, but today we heard more from like kind of both of them, but Bill Worski did the opening statements. So he said, we are all here this morning, Wednesday, April 2nd, because I guess Karmelo Anthony decided to take a knife to a track meet and provoke a young man into touching him. He took a hidden knife into his chest, and Austin died because this man did an unjustified, unprovoked murder. This case has nothing to do with this case has nothing to do with race. This case has nothing to do with self-defense. He launched a sneak surprise attack into Austin after goading him into a fight. Facts of this case are simple. Murder was simply senseless. You are going to hear more. You are going to see the surveillance video. That video shows the story. After he slipped into the tent, he wouldn't leave. Austin put his hands on Melo after he provoked him. He hit him with a knife. This was a provoked, unjustified murder. This is senseless. Let me reset. That morning, Frisco ISD, the track meet was set to begin. Austin was there with his brother, along with The other Centennial school for the track meet, Karmelo. Oh no. He was there with his brother, and then Karmelo was along with Centennial at the school for the track meet. The coach sent a text to Austin that he needed them to step up and help. The rain began to fall. Some teams went to the buses, some were on the field, some with their teams in the tents. 6 minutes and the murder, Austin and his brother 6 minutes before the murder, Austin and his brother entered the tent. You will see normal activity in the tent. 2 minutes after Austin enters, Karmelo is visible. He makes a beeline into the memorial tent. You will see more normal activity in the tent. The other kids asked, why was he there? They treat the tent like a locker room to protect valuables from theft. Austin steps up to tell him to leave. After several people told him to leave, Austin took the bait. Okay. So he's basically shaping it as like Austin was baited by Karmelo because Karmelo didn't listen to him when he said leave. So that was Karmelo baiting Austin into hitting him. So he said that several people had told him to leave the tent. After several people told him to leave, Austin took the bait after he goaded him to hit him. He refused to leave and took his knife and plunged it into Austin. Then he runs and tries to blend in and slips out the gate. The kids, once they realized a stabbing, they ran. Once Austin realized he was stabbed, he lifts his shirt and shows he had been stabbed in the heart. The kids pointed Karmelo out right as he tried to leave. He told them, he touched me first, as if that justified the murder. He just committed. Officer Cortez heard the call of the stabbing. He runs. He hears the kids and activities. His body cam and police detain Austin. You will see body cam. Cortez puts him, they detain Karmelo. They put him in custody. Karmelo says, and when they put him in custody, one of the officers, they radioed and they said, we have the alleged suspect with us. And when they said, like, we have the alleged suspect with us, Karmelo says, I did it. I'm not alleged. You will hear him say, he touched me first. You will hear a lie. You will hear him tell a lie. He lies to Cortez and says, I told him not to. That's the lie. That tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. He tossed the knife immediately after and then tried to slip away from the scene. That lie is important. You will start to hear from the witnesses and see the video. This is murder and not self-defense. You can't provoke someone, then take their life. This case is murder, plain and simple, senseless. I expect you to follow the oath, follow the evidence, and find this man guilty. So that was the prosecution's opening statement. Now, when they are talking and doing the opening statements, they're talking very fast. I'm writing with a pen and a paper. I'm not able to use my laptop like the legacy media. And so I paraphrase what I can and I quote what I can. So this is like a summary of what he said, just to, it's not a factual transcript. This is just me writing down as much as I can catch while he's talking. Okay. So all of what I read is me scribbling. Like, I got a bunch of scrabble of me trying to jot down as much as I can, as fast as I can in the amount of time that I have to write. Okay. So with that being said, let's go to the defense. The defense does his opening statement and he says, ladies, are there a lot of trolls? Hold on one second. Let me fix that. Let me fix it. Hold on. All right. All right, so there that should fix it, hopefully. I don't know. Anyways, all right, so ladies and gents, there has been a lot of noise around this case. This is Karmelo Anthony's defense. Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a lot of noise around this case. You say you believe less than half of what you see in the media. A lot of stuff is false about this case. You will hear the actual evidence. A lot of noise about Karmelo and his family. He is a son, the oldest of four, and he graduated with a 3.7 GPA. He was a member of the chess team. He played track. He loved camping. There has been a lot of noise about his family. Well, but and then he said, well, in both families, his mom is a nurse who gave up her career so that she can be a stay-at-home mom and take care of her children. His father was a finance manager for a car dealership, and they are originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They wanted to have a better life, so they moved here midway through his freshman year. Melo starts at Centennial his sophomore year, and he gets good grades. He played football, and his senior year, he was the captain of his team. In high school, he first started to get seizures, and he was diagnosed with having epilepsy. And it continued, and he was able to contain it with medication. A little bit before that actual game that happened with Austin in this whole situation, he had an injury where he had to be out of the season for a few games. They said that his arm was in a sling, I guess, prior to that, and he had to go to physical therapy. The actual day of the track meet, he had a physical therapy session scheduled, but he decided to help the team out because it was a junior varsity track meet. He was on the varsity team, but he was helping out at the track meet. So he said that a few games into the season, he injured his arm or whatever, or he injured himself. April 22nd or April 2nd, 2025, he woke up late in a rush to get to the track meet. He got on the bus with his teammates. Melo was a varsity track kid. Most events that day were junior varsity, but he was scheduled to do long jump. He had a physical therapy appointment that day, but canceled to go to the track meet. It was raining on and off. It started raining hard, and then it stopped again. Some kids went to the bus. Some kids took cover under tents. A lot took cover under the bleachers. Every single school had a tent for the school to take cover under, except for Karmelo Anthony School Centennial. He said they only had a tarp. The evidence will show that morning Karmelo is in a normal mood with his friends. He helps out, and then he tries to get out of the rain and look for a place to get out of the rain. The camera is on the opposite side of the stadium, which is far. You will see video, but when zoomed in, it's blurry. You will see others had a tent, but the first tent was jam-packed. He went past the tent and saw someone he knew, Edwin Park, the close family friend of Melo's girlfriend. So he identifies a Black boy under the tent for the Memorial High School where Austin Metcalf and his brother goes to school. According to the defense, what they're saying is, hey, he recognized his girlfriend's family friend, which is a Black boy. He recognizes him under the tent, and that's who he goes to chat with. It says he walks right up to his buddy, and they dap each other up and sit down and chat. Since them talking, government said multiple people told him to leave, but before that, multiple people said they were just talking. They were just fine. That went on until Hunter and Austin seen Karmelo. His friend Eddie was to his right. Hunter is in front. Austin was I jotted down, he either said Austin was to the right or Hunter was to the right of Melo. But anyways, he said the Memorial kids estimate that it was about 20 kids under the tent. All the kids went to Memorial except for Karmelo. Everybody under that tent is a teammate and a friend to Austin. So keep that in mind. Keep an open mind until you hear both sides. He then said Karmelo Anthony is about 5'8", 130 to 135-ish pounds. He said Austin and his brother is around 6'1" and 213 to 215 pounds. He said they were both significantly heavier and bigger than Karmelo. They were about 83 pounds heavier than Melo when they confronted him. You will hear different accounts of what was said. Touch me and find out. But others say, as long as you don't touch me, we are cool. Multiple witnesses took Melo's hand in bag as a back off. So he says that there was multiple kids in the tent, and when Karmelo, there's conflicting reports from the kids. So some of the kids say that Karmelo said, as long as you don't touch me. And then other kids say that he said, touch me and find out. So he's saying that we're going to hear the different accounts from the different kids on one way or another saying two different things. Then he said that they saw Karmelo when he made that statement. He reached his hand in his bag or whatever. And he said most of the kids, when they saw him reach his hand in his bag, they took that as a sign of like, oh, let me back off. You know what I mean? Type of thing. And then he goes on to say everybody else took that as a sign for them to back off, except for Austin and his brother. So he says that Austin says, you ain't got nothing in that bag. And Melo stays seated the entire time. It says Austin makes the first physical contact despite the warning. He grabs, shoves, and punches and pushes Melo. In a split second, he has a decision to make, how and when to act. Self-defense is useless if you wait until it's too late to defend yourself. You will hear it was raining and Melo sat down out of the rain. In that moment, he has to decide what to do in the moment of fear and chaos. Why not walk away? After Melo defended himself with the knife, he ran and didn't stab twice or hit anyone else. He dropped the knife right by the tent. He ran, stumbles, and falls. People are chasing him. He falls down the bleachers. He goes along the edge. Instead of going out the exit, he goes on the track, which is not the way out, then walks straight up to a coach. You will see it on the video. Melo stayed with Vincent Cooper. He didn't try to hide. He told a cop when the cop had like detained him and radioed and said, hey, we have our the alleged suspect. Karmelo wasn't trying to hide that he was responsible for this, and he told the cop that I did it, like I'm not alleged. He said that has the government and then they said, has the government ruled out that Karmelo acted in self-defense? And so that was his opening statement. So basically, he ended it off with like, he wanted them to ponder if the government truly ruled out self-defense. Okay. So after that, they called their first witness, and the first witness was a guy by the name of Mark Porter. He is a forensic video analysis, and he works for the district attorney and all of the prosecutors. Anyone who needs assistance with like video enhancements or trying to identify suspects in videos and things of that nature, he's their go-to guy for them to like look at video, enhance video, and you know, all of those type of things. And so he said that there was going to be 5 different video angles that they were going to produce for us to see through him. It was going to be exhibits 5 through 9. They offered that. It says that they wanted to know, like, oh, what was the quality of the video? So they asked him, like, hey, what is the quality of the video? And the guy said that the video was in 4K. The prosecution wanted us to know that 4K video, just because like it's shot in 4K, doesn't mean that the TVs will show it in 4K. So he said that he was going to bring in a special 4K TV so that they can see it in 4K. Okay, so then it says, oh, so then they showed an exhibit that showed Austin and his brother and what they were wearing. It was a still frame of Austin, and it was a still frame of Austin's brother Hunter, and it showed what they were wearing on their way to the track meet. Then they showed a still image of Karmelo when he was like detained with the cops and like being arrested, and we were able to see what he was wearing. This all happened on the West football field at about 9:50 something a.m. So the timestamp that they had that this occurred, where they first saw Karmelo Anthony on surveillance, was 9:52 a.m. And that's when you first see him kind of appear out of the bleachers. I'm going to pause right there and do a check-in with you guys. Have you guys hit the like button yet? I am an independent journalist. I'm out here from California. I'm here in Texas on my own dime. I'm not sponsored by any corporation. I'm out here grinding for myself. And if you guys would like to donate to my travel fund, if you enjoy my breakdown of the case, I really could, use the support. Now, I'm not like these other folks that are going to spin a narrative for your support. I'm going to report it as it comes through the trial. I'm not getting support to be lean this way, lean that way, lean any which way. I'm bringing it. I'm writing as much as I can down and bringing it to you straight as whatever I can, jot down. I can't get every single thing because, again, I'm writing it with my pen and paper, but it would mean a lot if you guys donated to the Cash App or via Super Chat. My preferred method is Cash App. But if you don't, got it. Engagement under the videos helps me out a lot. Another thing, listen, I'm independent, y'all. I need help with my thumbnails while I'm out here. Like, I put together some BS rinky-dink thumbnails. If you want to help a sister out, now I'm tapped out. I done paid for my hotel, rental car, I got all kind of expenses, and I don't have a lot of donations. Like, I've gotten a couple, but a lot of people have not donated to me. If y'all want to help a sister out, help me out with some thumbnails, okay? Like, somebody help me out, please. That's what be delaying me in doing these lives too, like trying to come up with a thumbnail. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. I can't pay y'all for the thumbnails. I'm tapped. But if y'all can donate and help a sister out, we got it. Somebody said, what's your Cash App? It's on the screen, Neek at Night Media. Thumbnails to my email. My email is neekatnight1@gmail.com or Instagram, neekatnight_. All right. But I wanted to incorporate me in the thumbnail, and then, that I'm covering the trial and whatever like hot thing is happening that I need to talk about. To my email or my Instagram, or yeah. So, all right. Okay. And yeah, so oops, sorry. This is my, so that's my Neek at Night Media. I don't have Venmo or Zelle. I need to get it, but let's move on. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I'm going to look into getting a Venmo and a Zelle and all of those things. I do have a Zelle, but it's tied to my personal account. I need to get a Zelle that's not tied to my personal account. All right. But this is the type of this is the type of energy that we get. Like, this is the energy that they're typing online, but imagine us at the courthouse, people that don't know you, but they only see that you're black. This is the type of energy that we're dealing with. But anyways, enough attention for you. All right, let's get back to it. All right, so they show the surveillance footage of the incident. They show the surveillance footage of the incident, and like the defense attorney said, the video was like far. So they had to zoom in so that we can see like anything. The video was, even though like they're saying that the video is shot in 4K and it's all this high quality, it was so far back that when you zoom in, it's not 4K. Like, it's not the greatest quality. So we were up in there and I really had to look. Like, they had the guy who was the expert, like he had to use his laser pointer and point at the screen to show us, okay, this is when Karmelo pops out, because you can't see his face. We just going off of you telling me that's Karmelo, so that's Karmelo. You get what I'm saying? Like, when we're looking at it, I can't look at that person that popped out and be like, oh, okay, I see Karmelo. All I could do is, oh, okay, they did show me that when he got arrested, he got on a gray hoodie and blue pants. Okay, yeah, that figure does have a gray hoodie and blue pants, but I can't make out, like, you can't see a face. You get what I'm saying? Like, it was blurry. Like, you can see a body, but you can't see a face from when we saw the actual footage. Okay. So once he started like running out of the stadium, then you can see him a little more clear from the other angles, but the actual angle that shows the incident, you just see bodies. And we can only go off of they telling me that's him, so that's him. You get what I'm saying? Like, I can see a body there, but I can't see. Anyways, y'all get my drift. So, all right. So I'm looking at the footage and they're like, okay, point and show us where Karmelo is. And so I'm looking, I'm like, is he to the left? Is he to the right? Like, I see all of these dots on it's not dots, but I see all of these little bodies on the thing. And I'm like, looking like, which one is he? And then the guy points and he's like, okay, that's him popping out. And they say that the first time that you see him make an appearance is 9:52 and 45 seconds in the morning. So 9:52 and 45 seconds, he pops up and he walks out. So I'm like, okay, all right, I see blue and gray. All right, okay, he popped out. So then he pops out, and then you see a figure go back down. So he pops out and then he goes back down. And then after that, they show us another angle of him walking like past the tent. So he walks past one tent, and again, I can't see the faces of the people in the tent, but you can see it's a lot of bodies under one tent. Like, the first tent that he walks by, looking at it, it's not like a tent where it's closed. Like, in my mind, every time I heard them say tent, now this is, I'm telling on myself, I didn't play sports in high school. Okay. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a model. I wanted to be on TRL. I wanted to, I wanted to be like in the industry. Like, that was my goal. I like to be taking pictures. I don't know nothing about that. So every time they said they were under a tent, in my head, I'm thinking when I go camping, the tent is closed. So I'm thinking it's not going to be small like that, but I'm thinking that it's closed in. You know what I mean? So he walks by and I'm like, that's a canopy, and not to make light of it, because this is a very serious situation, but that's just the different things that's going on in my mind. Like, he walks by and I'm like, they're like, okay, he walks by the first tent. So I'm like, the canopy right there. Okay. So then he walks by. So it's like a canopy or whatever. And in the canopy, again, I can't see their faces, but you can tell it's a lot of bodies under the first one, right? So then he walks to, he walks down a little bit further, and then you can see the other one that is a yellow canopy, and it's the one for the school that the victim Austin goes to. And you can see that it's not as many people, and he he goes to that canopy. So then after they show us that angle of him walking, then they show us a different surveillance angle of Austin and his brother walking in. So they were showing the timestamp of when Karmelo was walking, and then they start showing timestamps of when Austin and his brother walked in, and how they walked in from the parking lot and walked in from one way to the stadium or whatever. And they were showing us their angles, and they were like, okay, this is one brother. They both had the same outfit but different shoes. So this is one Metcalf. He has the gray New Balances, and then the other brother had the same outfit as him, and they look identical, but he had a different pair of shoes. So they were showing us how to identify which twin is which. And then they were showing us that they were walking up to the area of the track meet. Now, when they get to the tent, they make it to the tent before Karmelo Anthony. So they walk into the stadium, and it's like a few of them together. I want to say it's like Austin, Hunter, and I want to say 3 other boys that are a part of the track. They all walk in together, and they're walking to the tent. So they make it to the tent, and 2 minutes after they make it to the tent, then Karmelo Anthony appears at the tent. After a total of 4 minutes from them entering the tent, 2 minutes later, Karmelo entering the tent. After 4 minutes go by, you don't really see a disturbance in the kids' behavior that are in the tent or around the tent. So while they're under the tent in those 4 minutes, you see people walking by with umbrellas. So you see like several students walk by, and they have umbrellas on. From the footage, you can see rain coming down in front of the camera, and then you see several students walking like this way, and they have ponchos on. So they have full rain ponchos. Okay, so I think it was like 2 or 3 that had ponchos. So they're walking straight. They got the ponchos on. So I'm like looking at the atmosphere around, because you can't really see what's really going on in the canopy. And so there was kids constantly moving around. Like there's constant movement that, it's kids right here. They're walking this way. They're walking that way. They're kids under the tent. They're kids under this tent. And so like, all of this is going on, but it's normal behavior. It's not like they're not congregating when people are about to fight. It wasn't like, ooh, let's all check out the fight. Like everybody had normal behavior up until the actual stabbing. So everybody's going about business as usual. You see people walking like not a care in the world. They're not acting like, kids are not congregating. There's no sign that there's any disturbance under that tent. Immediately after there was the stabbing of Austin, they all start dispersing like Skittles or like ants or like whatever you want to call it. They all start like running out. You see Karmelo jump up, he like runs up the bleachers, and then jumps down. Like he tries to like hurry up and run down. He jumps down, and he like kind of falls, and then he jets out. And then as he's running out, there's kids behind him that's chasing him. And then he ends up running where there were some coaches right there, and they kind of like, stop him and then hand him off to his coach for his school. All right. So But in the midst of that, let's see. All right. So the victim entered the stadium at 9:53:06, and they enter in the tent 9:54. And then at 9:56 is when you see Karmelo enter the tent at the top. And it says he enters the tent at 9:56 with 14 seconds, which was 2 minutes after the victims arrived in the tent. And then that's when I noticed the ponchos, the umbrellas. And so it says between 9:54 and 10 a.m. So 9:54 a.m. and 10 a.m., no movement under the tent indicates that anything is going on around the tent. By 10 a.m., that's when you see the first indication of something going on. A total of 4 minutes and 12 seconds is the total duration that they had their encounter from introduction to the assault. It all happened in 4.5 minutes. He runs away. He leaves from the top of the tent. He jumps down. He runs into the crowd. The kids are chasing after him. He goes up to the coach. And then they show the view from the parking lot. They show the victim and his twin walk into the stadium from another angle. And they show us again how they distinctively had the same outfit, but different distinctive shoes. And I noticed that they were walking in with 3 other boys, and you can see that there was a bunch of kids like still trying to enter into the track meet. So it says da, 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 da. So from the time that they entered into the stadium, had the encounter with Karmelo get arrested. All of this happened in a matter of 15 minutes. So they said from the point of Austin walking into the stadium all the way up until Karmelo being in handcuffs, that all happened within 15 minutes and 20 seconds. So then it was time for the defense to cross the legal video analysis. And they wanted to know if there was a way that he can tell that there was an argument. Now, like I told you, you can only see bodies, but you can't see like mouths. You can't really see faces. You could just see like a body is there. So they were wanting to know, hey, is there like, can you show me where like they were arguing at? Can you see them arguing? And the video analysis guy said no. So they wanted to know like about, you know how sometimes in a video like there's so many frames per second. They wanted to know about any frames dropping, like if like a frame per second happen, like could you miss like a movement? Can you miss like a head nod, or can you miss like an action or something like that? And then they said that the rain was coming down, and they showed the video, and they showed that the person who shoved him was standing up, and the person who got shoved was not standing up. So what the defense wanted to prove is they kept going back and forth with the video analyst, and they were like, hey, the person that got shoved, do you see him standing when he gets shoved? And they wanted to basically paint the picture that Karmelo Anthony never stood up until he attacked back. That was kind of what he was trying to flesh out with the video analyst by asking him all of these series of questions about, it's possible that he never stood up. You don't see him standing up, right? Do you see him stand up when he pushed them? Do you see a figure? Are they both up? And he was basically getting to the point that or what he was trying to get the jury to understand is, here comes these big guys, or these teenagers, they're teenagers, these big teenagers that are significantly bigger than Karmelo. He's under the tent talking to somebody who he thought was a friend. The defense made sure to say thought was a friend. And then they say, or try to get the people to put in their mind that they come in, they're bigger than him, they're taller than him, he's sitting down, he's telling them that he's not going to move. And while he's in his seat, but Austin pushes him, and that's how this happened. So that's what the defense was basically trying to flesh out to the jury through asking a series of questions of, is it possible that he didn't stand up? Did you take into account that you don't see a person, like he was asking them questions to try to like insinuate that Karmelo Anthony never stood up, that he was sitting down the entire time, and that they just walked up to him and pushed him. And then he had a split second to react, and that's when he stabbed him. All right. So then they wanted to know, how long ago did he enhance the video? Because he came in as the legal video like expert to like enhance the video. And he said that he only enhanced the video 2 weeks ago. So then they got done with him and they called their next witness. Their next witness was a Black coach who was the coach for Austin and Hunter. His name was Robert Blaine Starr Jr., and he's the head track coach at Frisco Memorial. He trains athletes in combat sports. He is originally from Oklahoma. He was promoted to varsity coach at Irving High School, and then he went to, was it Molina High School? Then he went to Memorial High School. Then they wanted to know his background, like, did you play football when you were in high school? He played football when he was in high school. He went to Virginia Tech. He has several different sports that he works with, and he does in-season or off-season coaching. They wanted to know, did you know Austin and Hunter? Did you know who they were? And he says, yes, I was their position coach and I knew them for a few years. He said, well, I knew Austin for 1 year and Hunter for 2 years. Then they wanted to show them 2 pictures. So they had 2 pictures blown up to show him of the victim and his brother. So he admitted the pictures and evidence. He went and showed him. He was like, this picture is of the victim, Austin. And then he showed another picture where he said, this picture is of the victim and the brother. I didn't get to see the pictures, but he told us like what the pictures were. And he showed it to their coach who, was the coach. Anyway. So so he did okay. So let's see. Oh, okay. So then he started to speak on what the culture is at a track meet. He said, usually at track meets, they're co-ed and everything as far as the tents. He was like, the tent business, he kind of went on his own separate tangent. He was like, the tent business, it's the $1 million business, because I guess they always have to replace the tents because they get damaged and they always got to buy new ones, and they always have to have like a custom tent that has their logo. And he was talking about how it's like $1 million industry. I don't know how that was relevant, but he started saying that. Then he said that why the tent is so significant. All right. So he went into like how they have these custom tents and how it's $1 million business. And then he said that, and he wasn't saying that it was his business. He was just saying like the industry of it. Then he went into like what the importance of the tents are. He said that the tents are very important because they mark your spot and they are showing where your space is for your school on the bleachers. he said that he said that normally at these track meets, it's normally around 60 to 65 kids, and they normally have about 6 or 7 coaches to chaperone. He said that the tents are pivotal because that's where they put all of their backpacks, their food, their valuables. He said because it's co-ed, there's boys and girls, they got to monitor, like, kids got different hormones going on and all of that. So he said that they like to always have a coach in proximity to kind of monitor everything that's going on, their valuables, the co-ed, because they always have boys and girls. It's only about 6 or 7 of them to like 60 to 65 kids. And they gotta, manage all of that. They don't need no kids sliding on their dime. Okay. They don't need none of that. So he was saying that, the like why that is important. So he said that there's usually always a coach that hangs back and is around the tent. He said they call it proximity control, and that's basically keeping a coach close to the tent at all times because there are food and valuables and boys and girls together, and them being co-ed, they need a adult as close as possible. He said, but this particular track meet was different. So he said that there are times where they go to different schools so that they can go to the track meets, and they're like not hosting the track meet. He said, but this particular track meet was different because number one, there was the rain that kind of triggered a delay. And then number two, he said that they were the ones that were hosting the track meet. So because they were the ones that was hosting the track meet, they had a lot more responsibilities to deliver, things like they had to make sure that, everything ran smoothly for the other students and the other teams. So they had more jobs to do than normal. Like normally they would be able to watch their kids more closely and have all of these things happening, but he said that there was so many different things. He was pulled into so many different directions. It was a lot going on basically because they were the ones that was hosting the track meet. And then he said that and then he said that normally with the track culture, the expectation in track culture is that there's only going to be people from your school under your tent. Like that's the culture. The culture is that this is our tent, this is our school, it's only supposed to be us over here. That's the culture. And then he said that you don't go in somebody else's tent uninvited. So they wanted to know, is there a policy for a weapon? Are they not allowed or something? I don't know why I wrote that. And it says Wednesday, April 2nd was a district meet where it's 7 teams where you try to get into the track playoffs. The top 4 that placed go to the regionals, then the top 2 go to state. Austin and Hunter threw shot and disc. If you are the host school, you are responsible for running the meet. Due to the staggered start times of events, they were handling logistics and other things like that. Since they were hosting the meet, he was pulled in a lot of different directions that morning. He told his throwers to step up. They are responsible for getting tents off the bus, carrying equipment for the girls' bus, putting up the tents and their own equipment. So he asked them to step up and make sure that they were aligned with the Memorial High School values. He sent a text to Austin that day. When it was about to rain, some teams went to the bus. Some teams they somehow they got like a rain delay on the scoreboard, and some of them stayed on the bleachers. And when all of this happened, there was a soccer coach that had to get a crock pot, and his job was to go get the crock pot from the other coach. So when all of this was going down, or as it was brewing, he was making his way to the parking lot to retrieve a crock pot from a soccer coach. And when he was going to get the crock pot from the soccer coach, he started seeing all kind of mayhem happen. And I think he said that he ended up dropping the crock pot to kind of see what was going on. And then he was able to like see the commotion and etc. So he seen all this commotion, and he wanted to know if like maybe there's a fight going on, maybe something is happening. And that's when he saw Austin on the ground. He said his face was purple and he had a big hole in his chest. It was a lot of commotion. He can't make it was a lot of people, like a lot of noise going on. He couldn't make out what people were saying, but he said that everyone was just screaming his name, and he had to help Eddie because he was hysterical. After helping him out, he made his way back to Austin. Then he says he hears Hunter tell him to do something. Then he pointed at Karmelo like, you got to do, like he pointed. Okay, so basically, and this is just, I'm just reading y'all straight my notes, but I'm going to paint the picture. So basically, he is in the parking lot, right? He hears about, he got to go get this crock pot. As he's walking back, he sees all of these kids running and scattering. He drops the crock pot. He's running like, what's going on? All the kids are screaming at him like, coach, like, you got to do something. Like, he sees Austin on the ground. He sees him with this hole in his chest, and they're pointing at Karmelo. So once they start pointing Karmelo out, he basically goes to confront Karmelo. So he says that he goes over to where Karmelo is, and he approached him, and he said that he hopped over a gate to like get to Karmelo. And that's when he saw that Karmelo was walking with two coaches from his school. He put his hand up and told Karmelo he wasn't going anywhere. He was walking calm with his coaches. He said, I asked him, what the hell did you do? Melo said he put his hands on me. He said after that, he went back to go help Hunter, and he put his hand on Austin's leg, and he was praying. He said that I think he heard somebody say, you need to go help Hunter. And he went to go help Hunter. And he said that he didn't notice the rain raining hard or anything like that. But he said in that moment, when he went to go pray for Hunter, in that minute, he said that it started raining super hard. And as he's detailing this, his voice starts to crack. He starts to get like a crackling voice. You can tell like he's getting choked up. He's starting to cry. So then as he's starting to get choked up, I was on the same row as the Metcalf family. There were like a few people, like I didn't sit, like I was like one person away from the Metcalf family. So it was like the same row of his like, you know, mom, dad, all of them. And they were like, you could just hear a bunch of sniffles, and they started crying. And the coach, he starts getting choked up as he's kind of, you know, reliving this. And then one of the jurors, she looks like she's crying or whatever as she's hearing this. And then it was let's see. He confronted him. Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, so he said that so he went to Hunter, and when he went to Hunter, he was needing to pray in that moment. When he prayed for him for that minute, it just started raining really hard. And he said he started, at this point, he's crying now. And he said that was his sign, and that's how he knew that Austin was no longer here. And when he said that, you just heard tears, like a bunch of tears from his family. His family was bawling, like they were, it was like, I was like, whew. I was like, this is a lot. Like, this is a lot. So as he's retelling that, where was I? Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. So I wrote, he breaks down and he's crying. Okay, so that was the moment he said he knew that Austin was gone. Okay, so after that, the prosecution told him to point out Karmelo Anthony. So they said to point, like, do you see Karmelo Anthony in the courtroom? So he looked and he pointed Karmelo Anthony out. He was like, "Oh, that's him right there. He got on a gray suit." And then he says, he looks different today. He looks clean cut today. Or yeah, he looks cleaned up today or clean cut today. And so then the prosecution, after he said, "Oh, he looks clean," he's either said he either looks cleaned up today or he has a clean cut today. He said one of the two. And so after he said that, the prosecution pulled up Karmelo Anthony's mugshot. And so he showed him Karmelo Anthony's mugshot. And Karmelo Anthony's mugshot was him with his, like, it looked like he was starting dreads or whatever, but you can tell he had a neat lineup. He had a fade, like his hairline was neat, but he just had like he was starting dreads or something, like short though. And so he was like, "This is who you remember, right?" Like that kind of thing. Like, this is the guy, you know, and showing his mugshot, and then they plastered his mugshot on all of the screens, and then the jury seeing, you know, him with his hair and everything like that. So so then after they did that, they wanted to know if he ever met Karmelo Anthony before. He said he didn't know him. He never knew him before. And then they wanted to know about Hunter. Is he still involved in Hunter's life? And he says, yes, he was recently his football coach. And he said that he was, and they were like, "You were disappointed in Austin." And he said, yeah, he was disappointed in him. He said after they went to the thrower event, they left early to go fishing. So he threatened to kick him off the team. He said that particular day, because he threatened Austin that he was going to kick him off the team, he said he wasn't needed for that track meet. But since he was the captain of the football team, he came to support the team. He said actually he had a crappy year as a thrower. Like, he wasn't doing well as a thrower. He had a crappy year. And then he said, they were like, "Okay, so that morning you sent him a text." So they put up this text message on the screen, and it was the morning of the incident where he texted them before they got there. So in the text, it says, "Can you send this to all throwers? You guys keep leaving early, so just know you guys are probably not going to the district meet. You dudes never stay and celebrate your teammates, and you guys don't win. So what value are you guys bringing to the team besides coming out and celebrating yourself?" So that's what he wrote to him. There was one other paragraph, like it was like one or two sentences below that. I didn't have enough time to write it down, but this is what Austin's coach wrote to him and his brother the morning of the incident. So I got all of the text messages. I was able to write all of it, besides, like, it was like 1 to 2 lines that I wasn't able to catch. So he said, "Can you send this to all throwers? You guys keep leaving early, so just know you guys are probably not going to the district meet. You dudes never stay and celebrate your teammates, and you guys don't win. So what value are you guys bringing to the team besides coming out and celebrating yourself?" So then I guess after he sent that, he changed his mind and allowed them to come. Okay. So he changed his mind and he allowed them to come. And then they showed that there was another text message that got sent out. So the next text message that got sent out, it says, "You and Rhett are on early bus. Get the tent and whatever else we need. Set examples of how to conduct yourself today. Be a leader. I need you and Rhett to hold us down. I will be helping hosting the meet, so I'm going to lean on my older guys." It was like one or more, 2 lines to that text too. I got as much as I could. I was trying to write down as fast as I could. So initially he threatened them and he told them that he wasn't going to use them, that they were not bringing value to the team. And then he changed his mind and he said, "Listen, I'm going to put y'all in charge. I'm going to lean on y'all. I'm going to give y'all some responsibilities." Basically, that's kind of what I took from these 2 text messages is like, y'all not doing y'all end of the bargain, but let's see how y'all handle these responsibilities. That's not what the text says. I just read to y'all what the text says, but that's what I got from the text. You get what I'm saying? After that, it was the defense cross. So now we're at the defense. So the defense wanted to know if he called the sheriffs to share info about the incident that happened with Karmelo, and him making a statement by saying that Karmelo should not have been under the tent because it was not raining. So they were like, "Did you make a statement to the sheriffs and tell them that Karmelo Anthony should not have been under the tent because it wasn't raining? Like, did you say that?" And then he was like, "I don't recall saying that it wasn't raining, but if it says that I said that, then I said that." Like that was kind of what he was saying. Like, "I don't recall saying it, but if it says I said it, then I said it," type of thing. So then they wanted to know, well, was it raining or whatever like that? And he said to him, he didn't consider it to be raining like all hard. He said to him, it was a light drizzle. And he only remembers it raining hard when it was him and Hunter having their moment. And they start probing him and like, it wasn't raining. And so then he went into saying like, I'm used to certain, like, he didn't say it. I'm just paraphrasing. He was just basically saying like, to him, that wasn't like really rain. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't nothing to like, that wasn't really nothing. Like that was just it was a little drizzle. It wasn't really nothing like that. But in the video that I saw, you can see the rain coming down. You can see the people got ponchos. You can see they got umbrellas, all of those things. So they were asking him like, "So you mean to tell me it wasn't raining?" And so he was like, "Well, to me it wasn't," because they were trying to confront him on the statement that he made to authorities about it not raining. Okay. So he was basically justifying him saying that it wasn't raining. Again, if you guys want to support the channel and you are enjoying my content, share the videos, share the live. Sharing the videos means sharing my link to my live and donating to the Cash App Neek at Night Media. It is a lot to cover this and bring y'all as much details as possible. If you guys are enjoying my content, even if you aren't, and you're like, "I can't stand this black bee, I can't stand all you," hit the dislike button. Whatever the case, if you're here, just let us know that you're here. You know what I mean? Show some type of engagement. Let me know. Say hi. Hi, how are you? My name is Neek. If you don't know me, I cover trials and I cover gossip and I cover media. I cover trending stories. I cover all those things. There was a recent documentary on Hulu called The Cult of Nature Boy, and they featured your girl for a couple of seconds up in there. So if y'all got Hulu, you can see me talk for 2 seconds, 3 seconds here, there, and everywhere. A couple of episodes, they jotted me down. They said, "We'll put you down for 3 seconds on this episode, 3 seconds on that episode." You know what I'm saying? Check me out. Also, I was on CNN, child. Can you believe it? I did the Diddy trial coverage and they asked your girl to come on to CNN, baby. Check me out if y'all don't know about me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Check out my other stuff. Like, what? Period. Anyways, back to this, but child, if y'all could donate, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, because baby girl, like, what we doing? This is a lot of work. But anyways, all right, let's get back to it. Like the video, if not for nothing. All right, so let's see what else. Okay. Okay, where was I? Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah. So then they were asking him, they were probing a little bit more about his comment to the sheriff saying that Karmelo shouldn't have been under the tent because it wasn't raining. And they were basically he was basically saying like to him, it couldn't have been raining too bad because the track meet didn't get canceled. Like the track meet was still going on. So he didn't say clearly it wasn't raining that bad, but that's kind of what it gave. You know what I mean? Like clearly it wasn't raining that bad. That's not what he said, but that's what he insinuated. Like the track meet was still going on. So you let me know if you think it was really raining like that. You know, that's the energy that it gave. All right. So he said, do you recall people with umbrellas? Because then now they're like, okay, now you playing. Like, do you remember seeing people with umbrellas? And he says, I don't recall. I didn't see. So at that point, I'm like, now I know you seen the video. I seen the video. You a witness in the case. I know you seen the video. You seen them people with umbrellas. You see, he said, I maybe they didn't show him the surveillance video. I don't know, but I just assumed he would have seen it. You know what I mean? But he was like, do you they were like, do you recall people with umbrellas? I don't recall. I didn't see. They said, you talked about coaching track and football and different sports and how different sports have different rules. He said, yes, sir. He said, no rule prevents them from walking around and no rule but like there's no like written rule that says that you can't go under another tent. And he was saying that like it's not like a written rule, but that's like the culture. Like that's just, you know, it's one of those things like if you know, you know, like you know you ain't supposed to be under there. Like we didn't write it down and tell you that, but you know you like you know, like it's our culture. Like if you know, you know, you ain't supposed to really be under the tent. And so he said that but you do see times where kids from other teams will see their friends from other schools and talk to them, right? You do see that, right? And then he said, yes, sir. And then he said, that team tent is your home base, right? Where they leave backpacks and stuff, right? He was like, yes. He said, you said Frisco ISD policy and other teams can't come to the team tents. And you said that that was a policy. He said, I don't recall saying that it was a written policy. So you're basically saying that it's not a written policy, but it's just like the culture. And he said, yes, sir. They said, so the tent is how you mark your home base. If you are invited to other tents, usually that's not a thing because of co-eds, but usually a coach is there to regulate that. It's not unheard of for a student athlete to go under another tent. He said, no, but it's not the norm. And then he says, there are other coaches that might be fine. Okay, so my experience is so they were asking him, like, is this okay for other coaches? He was like, in my experience, that don't fly around here. That's why we always have a coach in close proximity to the tent. He said, but you do see students talking to other kids other than tents, don't you? And he said, yes, sir, but I follow the rules of the athletic director. And so he was basically like, every time they were saying, like, you have seen that before, though, right? He was basically trying to like deflect and try to act like he doesn't see it because he follows the rules, you know? But they were trying to flesh out to him, like, even though you follow the rules, you've seen it though, right? Like that's kind of like what this was given, like, because every time he answered, he was basically saying, I don't do that. I follow the rules. I don't allow it. I don't do it. I follow track culture. I follow this. And so they were trying to they're like, yeah, but you've seen it though, right? Like that was kind of, the back and forth that they were having. It wasn't in those words. Again, this is not an official transcript. I wrote down as much as I could, and some stuff I paraphrased, but that's kind of what this exchange was given. So then, okay, so he said, I follow the rules of the athletic director. Okay, so did you know that out of all the teams that were there and all the teams had a tent, and Centennial was the only team that did not have a tent that day? He said, no, sir, I did not know that. He said, you told the detective that you were pretending to kick Austin off of the team. He said, how much did Austin weigh? It's over 200 pounds, right? So he said, I can't tell you. Like, he was like, I don't know, maybe he was over 200. He said, well, he said he did, like, I guess he did gain weight, and he maybe he could have got up to 220. But he was like, I know it was over 200, maybe 220, but he was like guessing, like, I don't know, like he did gain weight. I know it was probably over 200, maybe, it's like, maybe, it was kind of like that. So then I put in a note to myself, because I, like casually, like I would look and I would write down like what's being said. And then it dawned on me. At this point, I'm like, wait a minute. I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't see not one juror taking notes. So I wrote that. I'm like, jurors are not taking notes. So I don't know if in Texas they don't give them a pen and a pad. I don't know if they have a pen and paper or if they don't. I don't know what the Texas rules are, but I never recall, and not to say that they never took a note, but each time that I glanced over, and again, most of the time I'm writing, but I'm like, halfway through the testimony, I'm like, wait a minute. I looked, I'm like, they're not taking notes. Now, so for me, that was unusual, because every single trial that I have covered, even like no matter what the trial was, anytime that I was in the courtroom and I was covering a trial, I always seen jurors with notepads and papers taking notes. Now, again, I don't know if they even have notepads or not, or I don't know if they did take notes. I just remember taking a mental note and thinking, I haven't seen them take no notes. And then I looked and I'm like, they're not taking notes. So that was just something that I realized. I'm like, they're not taking notes. That was interesting. So I'm gonna have to ask tomorrow. I wanna know if, I don't know who I ask at the courthouse, but I want to know if they give them a pen and paper. Because I don't even know if they even have a pen and paper. They might have a pen and paper. I don't know if they even have one. I just remember I didn't see them taking no notes. And so then I asked one of the girls, I wrote like a sticky note to her, and I'm like, hey, am I tripping? Or have you seen the jurors taking notes? She was like, nope, they ain't took no notes. She said, I didn't see them take no notes either. I was like, interesting. Like we passed a quick note real quick. So anyways, I'm going to ask tomorrow if the jurors can take notes and if they have a notepad, because I don't remember them taking notes. Anyways, so that was the mental note that I put at the top of my notes. And then, oh, okay. So the defense. All right. So they're questioning the coach. And then they said, so earlier, and again, I'm paraphrasing. These ain't the exact words, but this is kind of what it gave. He was like, so earlier you made a comment about Karmelo, and you said that he was cleaned up. That's kind of how it gave. Now, that's not the exact word for word, but that's what it gave. You know what I mean? Like, I'm one of them people that, like, a person will say something, but you know how something comes off. It's not what they say, but that's how it came off, you know? So he told him, he was like, so you made a comment. You said that Karmelo looked cleaned up. He said, yeah, he got a haircut, but he said the coach responded, he said, yeah, he got a haircut. He said, but his other haircut is the normal one too, right? Like, you've seen kids wear their hair like that. He said, yes, sir. He was like checking him on him, saying that he looked clean cut or cleaned up, or I think he said clean cut. Anyways, he was like kind of like checking him on that. So, okay, so they said, like, do you recall Karmelo looking like he was about to cry? And when, like, so they were asking him, like, the interaction that he had between him and Karmelo, like, does he remember Karmelo looking like he was about to cry, you know? And so he said that he recalls he looked hysterical, and he said that he put his hands on me. He was like, he looked hysterical, and he said that Austin had put his hands on him. So that was it for that witness. They called the next witness. So the next witness is a coach by the name of Tiffany Whitaker, and she is the athletic trainer for Memorial High School. She's been, it says she was 8 years from Colony, went to get a degree at TCU. She's certified as an athletic trainer. It says that she was there when the school got open, so she had to, like, you know, get furniture, all these things. So then they wanted to know, like, from her point of view, what is the culture behind the tent? So she said, a school's tent is like a locker room. You stay in your locker room. Everyone has their own individual spaces. If you are by yourself, do you park under somebody else's tent? She said, not normal. Like that's not normal. And then so they wanted her to explain what the weather was like that day. So they were like, you know, explain the weather. She said it was cloudy and windy, and she said they kept, like, monitoring the weather because they saw that there was a storm more moving towards their direction. And she said there was some drizzle. And because there was some drizzle, it signaled a weather delay on the scoreboard. She said they had set up all the equipment by the locker room, and she was off the track behind the flagpole. She saw Austin that morning before this incident happened, and they were like, well, did you see Austin that day, like, before everything happened? She said that she saw Austin that morning. He gave her a hug, and he went about his day. She was in the area of it, but she wasn't right there when it happened. And she said that she basically saw all the commotion. And when she saw, like, you know, all the kids scattering, all the commotion and stuff like that, she looks over and she, like, notices a student by the name of Hudson. So she says she sees Hudson, and he says that he stabbed him and he threw the knife and he's in the stands. She said, so she stood and she walked in that direction to go get Hooper. I guess Hooper was another coach. She said, and so she goes, and they're like pointing out Karmelo. She's the one who, like, intercepted, you know, Karmelo along with another coach. So one of the kids basically tell her like, hey, he stabbed Austin, and so she's like, hey, trying to tell Karmelo like, hey, like you can't leave, you can't go anywhere or whatever like that. And then she got another coach by the name of Hooper. She got his attention and she said, hey, I need you to take him. He stabbed someone. And I think at that time she didn't know it was Austin. I retract. They just said he stabbed him. At that point, she didn't know that it was Austin. He stabbed him. And then she went to go get Hooper's attention. And she said, hey, he stabbed someone. He is not free to leave. So she handed Karmelo off to Hooper to go see who was stabbed. So she, after she got Cooper's attention, who is the coach at a school called Heritage, she said, he turned around and said, you stabbed somebody's son? She said, once I saw he would take care of him, I went to render medical aid. So once she went to go render medical aid, she thought, I guess, he was having a seizure. She thought somebody might be having a seizure. She looked around and she saw Austin, and she headed in that area to help with evaluating him. Coach Birch had fingers on his neck to check his pulse. He was blue in color. He was not breathing. She said, I started rescue breaths. Others did chest compressions. They continued CPR until paramedics. She was in autopilot. She wasn't even paying attention to what's going on. She was just like in go mode, basically. And they rendered CPR until the paramedics came. She said when the paramedics came, they gave him medication and they gave him blood. And once they gave him blood and medication, he started to get some of his color back. Because at first he was turning like purple and like bluish purple and all that. And so once the paramedics got there, they gave him medication. They gave him some blood. And so he started to get some color. So at that point, she started to get hope. Like she started to be hopeful that he was going to be all right. Like she started to get hopeful, and she basically let the paramedics do their thing. And she like hung around the area and waited. So then it was time for the defense to cross. So they said, so, hey, like after this incident, you went to the officers after this and you told the cops that you stopped and put grabbed Karmelo. She said that she didn't physically grab Karmelo. She just kind of made sure that he didn't go anywhere. But she was like, I didn't touch him. But they were asking her if she like grabbed Karmelo. So they wanted to know how did she describe him? And so I guess she described Karmelo as 5'7", and that was as opposed to Austin Hunter, that was 60 to 70 pound weight difference, and he's smaller. She has seen, and so then they wanted to know, like, okay, so have you seen kids that are from other schools go onto other tents? And she said, yes, she's seen that. So then they said, because track meets are long, they're drawn out, there's a lot of walking around, and it is common, like kids do go and talk to their friends, especially if they have buddies at other schools, they'll go and talk to them. She said, correct. And if they know someone from another school, they sit and talk to them. She said, correct. Did you know Centennial didn't have a tent? And I think she said she didn't. It wouldn't make sense to go under another tent to get out of the rain. And then it says that they have male and female athletes. And then it said Austin was very good football player. He was a linebacker on average. And they were trying to figure out like how big he was. Like they were trying to get her to compare how big Austin was based on like positions that people play in football. So I'm not a sports person, but I guess certain positions you're bigger. Child, I don't know nothing about football, but they was going through the list of different positions in football to compare how big he was. If that makes sense. That's what they were doing. Those of y'all who watch football, y'all get it. But they were talking about like linebackers versus this versus that, you know, like saying how big, like trying to get a visual of how big he was. So after that, they were done with her, and then the prosecution released her as a witness, and then the defense said that she was subject to recall, meaning that there was a possibility that they can bring her back. So then they went to the next coach, which was a coach by the name of Vincent Hooper. Vincent Hooper is another Black coach, and he is the head coach at Heritage High School. He was born in Dallas. He played sports in school. He had a little time in the NFL. He was invited as a free agent to the Minnesota Vikings. He didn't make the team though, because I think he said that were only bringing 10 people on, and he was number 11. He was 6'2". They asked him, they was like, the prosecution was like, this might be embarrassing, but how big are you? Like, what's your height and weight? And he was 6'2", 240 pounds. I don't know why they asked him what his height and weight was. Maybe trying to compare it to Austin. I don't know, but they asked him his height and weight. I was like, why are y'all asking him his height and weight? Anyways, so they asked him his height and weight. He said he was 6'2" and 240 pounds. And every time he would give an answer, he would talk like really fast, like really, really fast, like he was talking real, real fast. And so the judge had to keep stopping him, like, slow down. And then they would ask him a question, and then he would talk, and then he would talk really fast. And then the judge would have to like, okay, like, calm down. You know, like the judge had to keep slowing him down because the court reporter wasn't able to keep up because he was like talking really fast. All right. So then they said kids like to mingle and talk, but something, I don't know what I wrote there. Let's see. Okay. So it says, what do you remember about the rain? And then he says, was the track meet going to be delayed or something like that? He said he didn't remember. So then they wanted to know where he was when all of this was going on. So just like the other coach, he was occupied doing something else as well. So like when this initially happened. So they wanted to know, where was he at? So he went through his list of, you know, events of how it was him to intercept Karmelo. So he was another one of the coaches that also that the Tiffany passed Karmelo too. So he had to run through his day and why he wasn't around and where he was at and what he was doing. So he said that he went to his car to get batons so that they can do the relay handoffs. Then he saw kids scattered and yelling. And he said he was telling them to calm down. And when he was telling all the kids to calm down, they were saying he stabbed him. Then a coach handed Karmelo to me and said, don't let him leave. He asked Karmelo, what did you do? He said, Karmelo's response to him was, he put his hands on me. And then he said, when Karmelo said that, he said that he put his arm around Karmelo's shoulder. So after Karmelo said that, he basically like embraced Karmelo and he put his arms around his shoulder. And so he said he put his arms around his shoulder. He said he had a heart-to-heart with Karmelo, and he said, you know, if he dies, this is going to change your life for the rest of your life or something like that. And Karmelo Anthony responded and said, he's not gonna die. Like, Karmelo was like, he's not gonna die. Like, like, he ain't gonna, like, there's no way he's not gonna die. Like, he's not gonna die. Like, so they were trying to flesh out the mindset of Karmelo at the time, but this was the prosecution fleshing this out. I thought this would have been something that the defense would have been fleshing out, but this was the prosecution who was getting all of these details out there. And so so Karmelo Anthony said that he's not gonna die. And then he said that he embraced Karmelo, and when he embraced Karmelo, Karmelo started to cry. He said at that point he handed him off to a Centennial coach, and then he says it starts ringing a bell when he's seen the twin brother, and he saw an African American kid run after Karmelo. He said an African American kid said, he stabbed my brother. So then they were like, okay, so this black kid walks up and says that Karmelo stabbed his brother. Like he's not, like, obviously the black kid is not Austin's brother. So what did you understand that to mean? Because obviously he's not his real brother. That's kind of what the prosecution was trying to show, that a black boy is calling Austin his brother. And so he was like, well, I understood that to mean, like, they're buddies, they're friends, they're teammates. And so that's why he was calling him his brother. I didn't think that he was his real brother, but I understood that to mean like they're buddies, they're friends or whatever. And then so he was like, he walks Karmelo to the Centennial coach, and they wanted to know if Karmelo Anthony's emotions seemed genuine, because he said that Karmelo Anthony has started to cry, and they wanted to know if his emotions seemed genuine. He said that yeah, like, to him, he felt like Karmelo's crying was genuine. He said the young man said that he's not gonna die. And he said that Eddie is a black kid, and he handed off Karmelo so that he can get Eddie, something like that. And then he saw Austin, and then Austin was pale white in a puddle of blood. And then after that, later that day, he went to Frisco PD. So then it was time for the defense to cross-examine him. And then the first question that they wanted to know is, okay, so when you embraced Karmelo after this and Karmelo started crying, you said that you felt like his emotions were genuine. He said, yes. He said, based on my experience as a coach, I felt like his emotions were genuine. And then they were like, he said, I don't think that he thought that Austin would die. Like, in his mind, like, he doesn't think that Karmelo thought that Austin would really die. And then they wanted to know, like, okay, so when you came in contact with Karmelo, like, was he running? And then he explained how he hugged Karmelo, and they like embraced each other. And he said that he had walked off to see something else. And when he like briefly walked away from Karmelo to, I think, check another student or something, then he walked back to Karmelo, and Karmelo did not leave. Like, he didn't like run away anywhere. Like, he waited for him right there. So they were trying to prove that Karmelo wasn't trying to run and escape, because when the prosecution, they did their opening statement, they made it seem like Karmelo was trying to escape. He was trying to get away. He was trying to avoid, getting caught. And so the defense was trying to show, like, hey, wasn't there a moment after you embraced Karmelo and you came in contact with him, you stepped away from him for a little bit, and then you came back and he was still there. He didn't move. That's kind of what they were trying to, establish. So, okay, a track meet is an all-day event. Students will mingle with other friends. They were asking him, like, will students mingle with other friends? He said, yes, sir, they will do that, but we try to keep that from happening, but it's not unusual. It was raining and students were getting from out the rain. That's the question that the defense asked, and he said, yes, sir. And he says, you comforted Karmelo, and he said, yes, sir. So that was the end of his testimony. Then the next witness was Joshua Rugman. He was a white coach. He was the defense coordinator for the football team. He was born in Houston. He joined the military. He played football in high school. He was a 100% disabled veteran after he left the military. And they wanted to know about like his POV of track meets and, the culture and all of those things like that. This is the coach that rendered aid to Austin. So when Austin had got stabbed and he was laying on the bleachers, he ran over with another coach, a coach there, and he ran over. Thayer called 911. He took off his jacket. And when he took off his jacket, he started to use his jacket to put pressure onto the wound. So they wanted to flesh out like how all of that happened. And so it said that okay, so a part of like the job and the track meets is to stay close proximity, is to stay close to the team tent and keep an eye out and make sure that things are running smooth. Then they wanted to know how big he was. So they were like, so how tall and big are you? Okay. So he said that he's 6'4", 260 pounds. And he said that on the day that this happened, he was waiting for the field events to start. So they said, did you have boys and girls under the tent? He said, yes, sir. They wanted to know what the weather was like. He said it was drizzly out, not a hard rain. There was enough. He said it wasn't like a hard rain, but it was raining enough where I needed to put on my jacket. I had on a rain jacket and I also had my hood up. So they wanted to know where he was at. So he was like, okay, so on the bleachers, okay, so so like when you first walk on the bleachers, right? The very first rail on the bleachers. And then after the rail, the first rail is all the seats. Him and another coach was like slightly off to the side at that rail, the closest, like the rail that like separates that starts the bleacher. They were on they were talking on the rail, and then the kids were slightly back into the side of them in the tent. All right. So he explained where he was positioned at. And they wanted to know, okay, so the whole time that you were at the, standing in your position where you were, did you see any commotion going on? Did you see anything to alert you that, there was an incident happening, anything like that? He said that he never saw any commotion until after the stabbing. So like all the way leading up to the stabbing, like whatever words that they had exchanged or whatever, he says that he never heard anything and he wasn't that far away, but he didn't hear anything until he started to see all of the commotion with the kids and all of them, running around and everything like that. Once he saw the commotion, he saw that Austin was wounded. He immediately ran to him, and then they showed the video of him. And then they were like, they showed a video and they were like, okay, so which one is you? And then they pointed out which one he was. And it showed that he was the one that, like, as soon as there was commotion, he immediately ran to Austin. And as he's running, you can see him taking his jacket off. And he's immediately running and taking his jacket off while he's running so that he can use his jacket to like do his compressions or compact the wound or something like that, he was saying. And basically, the reason why he knew what to do and what to spring into action is because he's an Army veteran. He said that he was in the military and there was several times that he was blown up. Okay. He said, I was blown up several times and he knew, like, you know, just what to do. Like he was in a, what did he say? Like a buggy. What's the call? He didn't say buggy, but he was in, you know, like a military car and it got blown up, but he was okay. And then he was in a house that got blown up, but because of these different blowups, like he was 100% veteran. And with the knowledge that he has as a veteran, he knew what to do to spring into action to, you know, compact the wound and put pressure on the wound and all of those things. Oh, y'all saying Humvee? Maybe it was Humvee. I'm saying, I know it wasn't Buggy though. He said a name. It might have been Humvee. All right. So after that, okay. So okay. So when he went to immediately spring into action, at the same time that he went to spring into action, there was another coach by the name of Thayer. Coach Thayer called 911. So while he's administering aid, all of the kids are hysterical. Coach Thayer calls 911. So they wanted to know, like, okay, so you put pressure on the wound. He said that he yelled and called to Thayer to call 911. Somebody came up behind him. He said that it was his brother saying, oh, wait. Yeah, somebody was saying that it was his brother. They were saying it was on location, the blood. He said he knew it was bad because it wasn't a lot of blood that was exiting. The blood was staying internal. So he said that due to the location of the stab wound and due to the fact that a lot of the blood was staying internal, he knew what was like basically that he was losing his life. And he said you can see the color in his face start to drain. And he eventually realized that there was no post. So they did CPR on him. He wasn't breathing, but he was doing agonal breathing. And so they said that, I guess, agonal breathing is when you're taking your last breath and you're not really breathing, but you're taking your last breath, but people think that you're breathing. So I guess at one point he was taking his last breath, and when they did the 911 call, he didn't want to like give them false hope. So he like let them think that he was breathing still or something like that. So they wanted to know how long did it take the paramedics to get there. It took them about 10 minutes to arrive. And he said that after all of it happened, he stayed with all of the kids so that they can talk it out and kind of like talk through like what had just happened. After that, they played the 911 call. Whew, this 911 call was intense. So they entered into the 911 call into the exhibit, and the 911 call was initiated by Coach Thayer. And in the 911 call, it was a 7 minutes. I looked at the timestamp of the call. It was 7 minutes and 27 seconds. It stopped a little bit before 27 seconds. I think it stopped at like 7 minutes and 19 second mark was the actual duration, but the full thing, the timestamp was 7 minutes, 27 seconds. Anyways, so they call the paramedics and they say, you can hear kids in the background yelling and they were hysterical. Okay. They said that they were on the visitor side bleacher. They have an Army vet doing compression rooms. They wanted to know if the victim was breathing. They said, no, he's not breathing. He's stabbed in the chest. So while he's talking to the paramedics and they're asking him, like, is he breathing? You hear in the background, you hear a bunch of kids and they're just hysterical, like completely losing their minds. Okay. They're hysterical. They're freaking out. You can hear them frantic in the back. And the coach there, he was calm. He wasn't, he was calm. But everybody else in the background, they were hysterical. Like they were losing it in the background. So you hear them, you hear the other coach. So while Coach Thayer is calling, you hear the coach that was on the witness stand, you hear him in the audio. And so he starts telling Austin, stay with me, stay with me. He was like, stay with me, Austin. So you hear him like they're doing chest compressions and he's telling Austin like, stay with me or whatever. And then he said, the other coach said his eyes are rolling in the back of his head. As soon as they said his eyes were rolling in the back of his head, all you heard was Austin's family bawling, crying. You heard sniffles, they're crying. I looked over at the jury because I wanted to see like how they were taking it. And one juror, he was in the back like, like his eyes wasn't bucked. It wasn't that bucked, but he was kind of like. Another juror, she was getting choked up. She didn't cry, but I can see her like, she was like trying to like compose herself, keep herself from crying. You could tell she was shook, basically. I was looking, I was like, okay, like how, like while it was going on, I was like, like the Metcalfs were on the same row as me. So that like I hear them. I don't want to like stare them down and, I hear them. So I try not to look their way. I just hear like a lot of crying. And then, I'm looking at the jurors and I'm trying to see like, how they're taking it. And most of them had like poker face, like you couldn't really read what they were feeling or thinking or try to get a read on it. But some of them, you can tell like they were trying to like listen, but it was like, one of those things. All right. So I put a note and I said, Austin family is crying. So the audio continues to play and you hear the coach saying, come on, like, fight, come on, like that. And then the operator says, is the knife still in his chest? And they say no. And so then they wanted to know if he was breathing. They say he's not breathing. When they said he wasn't breathing, oof, you just heard all of the sniffles and the cries from the family. I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, I wonder if this is their first time hearing this audio or I don't know. Like it was intense. Like that moment was intense. So then I noted that, the kids were hysterical in the back. Somebody was saying, come on, there you go, Austin. And then I put juror looks worked up. And then I put juror has hands over his mouth with concerned look. And then the audio says, come on, Austin, you got this. Fight through it. You're doing good. And then they were putting the sweats on the compressions. Come on, Austin, fight, push through, push through. And so after that, they showed a photo of Austin when they worked on him. But because the family was crying and they were like shook from that 911 call, after they played the 911 call, they showed a picture of what Austin looked like when the paramedics was working on him. And so because the family was so worked up, the prosecution said, you know, out of respect for the family, don't publish it for the audience, just publish it for the jury. And it was a picture of Austin being worked on by the paramedics, and they showed that to the jury, but were careful not to show it to the family. And then after that, they showed when the coach was running to him and taking off his jacket, the bloody the bloody jacket that he used to do the chest compressions. They showed a picture of it. Sorry. It was a lot going on, y'all. Okay, so they showed the picture of the jacket and they published that to us. So we saw the bloody jacket. So they showed the front of it, they showed the inside of it, they showed it inside out, and they showed, you know, how it had blood on it. And after they showed those pictures to the jury, then they said, now we're pulling out the actual evidence. And then they pulled out the real jacket. Okay, so then they pulled out the jacket that he like the real one that day that got Austin's real blood on it, like not just a picture, like the real jacket. So then he says, admitting the real jacket into evidence. He didn't say it in that way, but admitting the real jacket into evidence. And so he went and then he showed the jacket to the judge, said that they were admitting into evidence, showed it to the defense, and then he came back around and he showed the jacket to the jury, and he opened it up and he was showing them, like, you know, this is all the blood on the jacket. And I was like, you know, like, whew, I'm like, this is a lot. And you know, the poor family is just all in their eyes out. Like, I'm like, this is a lot. So I had to decompress after court. That's why, like, it took me a few hours to get to y'all. Like, I really had to just, you know what I mean, sit with myself and just have some me time after that. But because tomorrow is a new day, I'm not gonna be able to, you know, go through all this. Then I was like, we getting through it. So after that, let's see. Okay, they showed the bloody jacket. They pulled out the actual jacket. And then they told him, so you did everything you could to try and save his life? And he said yes. And then that was it for him. And then it was time for the defense to do their cross. And they were asking him about who the other coach was that was standing next to him. So when all of the commotion happened, it was him, the coach there, and then it was another coach that was standing next to him also. And so they wanted to know who that other coach was. And he said that the other coach was Coach Burnett. And they didn't really ask him a lot after that. Like, the defense didn't really ask him a lot. They asked him, let's say, typically doesn't. They was like, typically doesn't like kids from other schools come, but when they do come, they talk for a bit, then they leave together. Something about that. So that was the end of the day. So that was the entire day. It took me 2 hours to get through it. That was the first testimony of the trial. that was everything that happened today that I can jot down. Thank you guys for tuning in. I wanted to make sure that I got that to y'all. Is it really midnight? Oh my God. It's midnight, y'all. I gotta be up. Good night, y'all. I have to be up super early. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys enjoy my coverage, I don't want to feel, I don't want, they're going to say I'm begging and all that, but I really would appreciate if, $5, $10, $20 holla, you know what I mean? Like, support your girl. Nick at Night Media is the Cash App. Or if you are watching this live on the replay, you could do a super thanks. Some type of show your girl some love so that, I can make sure that I have even more security with me up there, because stuff is getting a little, it's getting a little, it's getting a little eerie out there. So, show me some love. I want to be able to, bless the people that have been holding me down. My uncle has been holding me down up there, and other folks have been holding me down up there. But I want to make sure that I have like some security, because stuff is getting weird around there. So I want to continue to bring you guys the up to date latest, but I do need you guys to help me out on this journey. Nick at Night Media is my Cash App. I would greatly appreciate if you guys support it. I just, in closing, I feel for both sides of the family. I feel that even though there are people who are extremely, in my opinion, extremely racist, and they are using this family's pain for their racist agendas, outside of that noise, the case alone, setting aside, because when you get into that energy and you see all of these racists, it make you feel some type of way about people. You know what I mean? But you have to set aside and realize that this is a case about two young students, and you have to silence out that noise. Putting that noise aside, looking at the situation, and you look, I'm in the same role as the Metcalf family, looking at the pain in his family, them sobbing, them crying, looking over to the right, seeing Karmelo's Anthony family and them like really on edge because Karmelo's life is on the line, looking up and seeing Karmelo and his fate is in the hand of these jurors, that I don't think that, from what I'm reading, and I could be wrong, they still have not given their defense side and their defense case in chief. So opinions can still change. However, this is only day, like the first day of test, like all like true testimony. Looking at the jurors, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, just because you are a white person, that doesn't mean that you don't relate to Black people or what Black people go through. I'm from California, and I mix and mingle with different races all the time, and I can relate to different people. I was looking at the jury, and I'm like, normally you can see like, okay, like maybe, even if the person is not Black, maybe you can tell like, they may be into hip hop still, or they may have some type of relatability or able to relate. I don't know that I read that they can really relate to the nuances of being in Karmelo's shoes. I feel like they can relate to Austin. He's the victim in the case. He lost his life. I don't know that I see that they have that much relatability to Karmelo, if you get what I'm saying. But anyways, it's late. I need to go to bed. I'll talk to you guys later. And catch you guys on the next one.